Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. With your exams just around the corner, we're going to tackle a super funny and important chapter, My Watch, by the one and only Mark Twain. It's a fantastic story, and I promise it has a simple message that's very likely to come up in your exams. So let's get right into it, shall we? First, let me ask you something. Has this ever happened to you? Your phone screen cracks, you take it to a repair shop, you get it back, and yeah, the screen is fixed, but now the speaker doesn't work, or maybe the camera's blurry. It's so frustrating, right? Well, you won't believe it, but Mark Twain went through the exact same thing about 150 years ago, but with his watch. So let's meet the main character of our story, and no, it's not Mark Twain. It's actually his beautiful, perfect new watch. For a whole year and a half, this watch was everything to him. It worked absolutely flawlessly. I mean, Twain thought his watch was just perfect. He uses some big words for it, like infallible and imperishable, which basically means he thought it was a perfect machine that could never ever break. He trusted it completely. But then, one night, he made one tiny little mistake. He forgot to wind it. And that, my friends, is where all the trouble begins. All he wanted was to get the time set correctly. That's it. So he takes his perfect, beautiful watch to the chief jeweler in town. A simple, innocent decision, right? Wrong. This one small decision was something he would regret for a very, very long time. It was the beginning of the end for his poor watch. All right, so now we get to the first repair. And this is where one tiny, completely unnecessary fix kicks off a total disaster, and it's also where the story gets really, really funny. The author tries to tell the jeweler, hey, my watch is perfect, just set the time for me. But does the jeweler listen? Nope. He sees it's 4 minutes slow and just insists the regulator, that's a little lever inside that controls the speed, needs pushing up. And even though the author is practically begging him to stop, the jeweler does what Twain calls the shameful deed. And here's a term you should definitely remember for your exams. Twain was so annoyed at this man's foolishness that he called him a human cabbage. What a brilliant insult! It's like saying the man had the same intelligence as a vegetable. A great little detail to add in your answers, Butcho. So what happens after this first repair? Well, total chaos. The watch just started running faster and faster and faster. Kind of like when you put a YouTube video on double speed. It got so fast that soon it was 13 days ahead of the real date. Can you just imagine your watch telling you it's the middle of November when it's still October? Crazy. And from this point, things just get worse. The poor watch goes on a tour of every so-called expert in town. It's like a long, funny parade of watchmakers, and each one just makes the problem worse. Just look at this mess. First, one guy says it needs cleaning, and what happens? It becomes painfully slow. Then another one says the barrel is swelled, so it starts running super fast for a few hours before crawling to a stop. Next, someone says the king bolt is broken, which makes it start and stop completely randomly. Every single fix just creates a new, crazier problem. This quote is just brilliant, It really shows Twain's humor. He doesn't describe the watch like a machine. He talks about it like it's a sick person. When it was running too fast, he says it had a raging fever and a crazy high pulse. This is called personification, and we'll talk more about it in the exam section. After another genius repair, the watch started making so much noise he couldn't even think. He says it was barking, wheezing, whooping, and sneezing and snorting. Can you even imagine a watch making all those sounds? It's just a hilarious example of exaggeration to make it funny. Now, get this. The watch originally cost him $200. Back then, that was a good amount, maybe around 16,000 rupees. But guess how much he ended up spending on all these useless repairs? $2,000 to $3,000. In today's money, that is over 2 lakh rupees. All that money wasted on making his perfect watch completely useless. So after spending a fortune on a watch that barks and has a fever, the author is just done. He's at his wit's end. But he decides to try one last watchmaker. And this one, well, this one is the most ridiculous of them all. So check this out. This final expert was actually a steamboat engineer. While other repairmen were giving diagnoses like a broken king bolt, this guy looks at the little watch and says, she makes too much steam. You need to hang a monkey wrench on the safety valve. I mean, that's complete nonsense for a watch, right? And that was it. That was the final straw for our author. This whole crazy experience finally leads him to the main lesson of the story, which is beautifully summarized by his Uncle William. Sometimes things are perfectly fine until so-called experts get their hands on them and try to fix them. This is the main theme. बच्चों, you have to remember this.
Okay, bachon, let's switch gears and move into our exam corner. Now pay close attention because we're going to quickly go over the most important points from this chapter that will definitely help you score full marks.
Okay, for your exams, you absolutely must know these 3 things. First, this whole story is a satire. It's not just a funny story, it's making fun of incompetent people who pretend to be experts. Second, Twain uses personification, giving the watch human qualities, like having a fever or a pulse. And finally, he uses hyperbole, which is just extreme exaggeration to be funny, like when he says the watch was 13 days ahead. Make sure you can explain these and give examples. Now, here's a very, very common question you might see in your exam paper. Just take a moment to think about it. Why did the author finally give up on his watch? And here is a simple, perfect model answer for you. The final, totally nonsensical diagnosis from the steamboat engineer was the last straw. That's the key point. It made him realize the whole situation was hopeless, and there was just no point in trying anymore. A solid answer that will get you full marks. All right, one more important one, often asked in the appreciation section. What does this line about the watch's raging fever actually mean? And what's the literary device being used here? See? Simple, right? The key word here is personification. He's treating the watch like a person to create this funny image of it running way too fast. If you highlight this term in your answer, the examiner will know you really understand the text. And that brings us to a final thought. Mark Twain's story is really funny, but it also makes you think, doesn't it? In our world of fast technology, what should we do? Do you keep trying to repair an old phone or laptop, or is it just better to buy a new one? There's no single right answer, of course, but it's something the story really makes us think about. And that's a wrap on my watch. I really hope this explainer made the chapter easy and fun for you to understand. If it helped, please do me a favor and like this, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more summaries just like this one. Let me know in the comments what chapter you want me to cover next. All the very best for your exams, bacho. Study hard, and I'll see you in the next explainer.